Thank you, George. You're very articulate. Good thinker, and good writer, and good man. Can you define for us using positive terms, what is a spirit and how that would differ from nothing at all, in positive terms?
I've just said that I can't define God, but I can say something useful about spirit, and I just repeat what I said because I believe in the reality of love. I believe it's a spiritual quality. I believe honour is something that is real. Disgrace is real. Forgiveness is real. Something spiritual is invisible, but sometimes it can be very, very powerful. The love of a husband and wife, the love between parents and children, they are the most, probably the most important realities in many people's lives. They are spiritual realities.
Okay, let me follow up then. I can define all of those things like love, family, and feelings in purely natural terms as functions of an organism. But why are we not begging the question by saying the definition of spiritual is love, which is spiritual? I want to know what is. Does it occupy space? Does it occupy time? Does it have a weight? Can you measure it along a dimension? How does the spirit, how would you know that your spirit is not just a concept as opposed to an actually existing thing in reality?
Well, you can't measure a spirit. It is certainly not material, but the examples that I have given are very real and very powerful. Now we can, there's an Australian poet who said that sometimes people can go and be at a concert and be like dogs at a concert. They hear every sound but have got no understanding of the music, because the music is something that is spiritual and beautiful and real, and they can't be reduced to, they're connected with physical activities, they can't be reduced to those physical activities.
I would like you to give me an example of a positive statement which, if true, would make your God hypothesis false. In other words, the principle of falsifiability. Or to simplify the question, what would you accept as a disproof of your God hypothesis?
I wouldn't accept the reality of evil in the world as disproving God, because that, to argue against the existence of God, we have to use all God's gifts. We have to use reason. And reason, we have to invoke principles. We have to use the great gift of speech. All these capacities are not explicable in themselves. You can say, I don't go down that direction, I just leave it as a brute fact, I got no idea. That's not what you're saying. You're saying there is no intelligent reason for these things. God can't be disproved. We might not believe in him, but we can't disprove the existence of God.
Someday, since you probably agree with me that science has not reached the end of the road, there are many unanswered questions, but many of those gaps are closing. We now don't think thunder is caused by Thor. We understand electricity and weather. But someday, when these good questions you are raising about the origin of the Big Bang and the fine-tuning of the initial constants and so on, when science does come up with a satisfactory answer for those questions and we go, oh, aha, we just weren't thinking right, someday when those gaps are closed, will you then abandon your faith in God?
Well, obviously, Dan, you don't understand what the physical sciences are, because the physical sciences do not cope. They do not ask the question, why? And even biologists are notoriously reluctant to admit purpose in living life. I remember Sir Julius Kornberg, a very noted biologist, said that purpose in nature is often like a lady of the night. Scientists will appeal to purpose in nature during in the darkness, but during the daytime they won't admit that there is such a thing in reality. It needs an explanation. Science can't give it, but the more we know, especially about biology, the more evidence is being provided, so we can reason about that and reason logically to the existence of a superintelligence, which is God.
Thank you, Dan, for his questions, and it's now Cardinal Pell's turn to cross-examine.
Dan, many things in this life are unjust. 50 million people died in the Second World War, 5 or 6 million Jews, shocking violence. Most theists believe in an afterlife of reward and punishment. You don't believe in a God. What do you say about all the injustices of this world? Is there any remedy for it, or is it just that's the way it is?
By the way, I have no experience with the ladies of the night, so I don't know. And I presume you don't either, so that illustration was for someone else. Since there is no life after death, and there is no cosmic justice, and since there is no retribution in an afterlife, we've got to do it here and now. If we're going to make a difference, we have to do it in this world, which is the only world we have, which is the only world that counts to us. Much injustice will be unpunished. I don't think Hitler is up there somewhere being whipped and beaten. You were a bad boy, bad boy. He's gone. He's dead. That injustice is forever gone. I think the fact that life is not eternal adds more value to life. Because if you think it lasts forever, well then let's take care of things in the afterlife instead of taking care of them here. Life is much more valuable, much more precious as an atheist.
I find that very bleak. Now, you mentioned the importance to do something now, so I wonder, where are your atheist institutions? We've got, just in the part of Sydney that's the Archdiocese, we've got 80,000 kids, or 70,000 kids, Catholic schools. We've got wonderful Catholic hospitals. It's not just Catholic care, but there's Anglican care, there's Uniting care, that I think over 200,000 person visits in the last year. We believe in the afterlife, but we believe this life is very important, and apparently the atheists do. And of course it's not the government, because most of the taxes that are provided for governments come from Christians. This is a majority Christian society. Where are all these atheist groups doing such good work in the here and now, especially as they believe there's no balancing up, the scales of justice don't work later?
Atheists, in fact, have built and do build hospitals. But would you go to the first atheist hospital in Sydney if you saw it? How many people would have a bias against atheism because of those intolerant teachings in the Bible? The fool has said in his heart there is no God. The Soviet Union is one example of a godless country that built hundreds of hospitals who cared about human beings. Stalin was a horrible atheist, by the way. Hitler was a horrible Catholic, by the way. But we should not judge the religion because of the fruits of its followers. It may in fact be true that we atheists are the worst people in the world. We're totally selfish and we're out killing and raping and stealing and cheating. What if that were true? How does that add any evidence for your God hypothesis? All it means is that you Christians are just as nice as the rest of us. When we do good deeds, we're not doing it to trumpet our faith or our institution. We're helping human beings because we love humanity.